They called us backward dirt, a species still crawling toward the stars on hands and knees. When the Syndicate Armada arrived, they didn't fire a shot. They just hovered above Earth like gods watching ants, cloaked in smug silence and polished chrome. To them, we were nothing, a footnote in galactic history, another soft world to exploit. They didn't conquer us with war. They did it with pity. They dropped crates of their old tech into our orbit and called it aid. They handed over rusted weapons, half-dead AIs, and fusion drives that leaked like sieves. Use this, they said, until you're worthy of something better. We were expected to say thank you. Cole Maddox didn't thank them. He was a mechanic once, used to fix mining rigs on Europa. He didn't care about politics or alien diplomacy, but he knew metal. He knew how to strip a plasma torch and rewire its guts blindfolded. When the Syndicate gave us their scraps, Cole didn't see garbage, he saw opportunity. They think we're pets, he said the first night we dragged a busted Syndicate scout engine into Dock 7. Let's show them we still bite. Dock 7 was nothing more than a hangar carved into the side of Olympus Mons. The air always smelled of hot steel and cold sweat. The crew was a skeleton team, engineers, welders, rogue programmers, and a few ex-military who didn't like the idea of licking boots with scales. No government sanctioned what we were doing. They were too busy playing nice with the aliens, hoping to be rewarded like obedient slaves. Cole didn't wait for permission. He called the project, the Blade, said it was going to be the ship that cut through the Syndicate's arrogance. Every day we scavenged more, hull fragments from Syndicate junk heaps, reactor cores with bad regulators, a torpedo tube built out of repurposed fuel lines. It was a patchwork death machine held together by spite and duct tape. He led the work with his own hands, never barked orders from a distance. You'd find him knee-deep in coolant or crawling through engine ducts, reprogramming systems one bad code line at a time. When morale dropped, he didn't give speeches. He pointed to the nearest broken thing and said, "Fix it or we die." Nobody questioned him. The ship took shape slowly, like a ghost pulling itself out of a grave. It was ugly, sharp-angled, armored unevenly, engines jerry-rigged from 3 different species tech. But it was fast and quiet and deadly. And it was ours. The Syndicate never noticed. They were too arrogant to believe humans could do anything with the trash they tossed at us. That was their first mistake. The second was leaving a live targeting AI core in one of the decommissioned cruisers. Cole hacked it, taught it to think like us, dirty, unpredictable, angry. We named it Whisper. It didn't talk much, but when it locked onto a target, it didn't miss. We launched the Blade on a cold rotation night when Syndicate orbital scans were at their lowest. No lights, no pings, no trail, just silence. The first strike was against one of their refinery freighters. We hit it with a kinetic rod, no energy signature, just mass and velocity. It split the hull like an egg. We didn't hide who we were. Cole made sure of that. He embedded a message in the wreck's distress beacon in 100 alien tongues: "This is humanity. You gave us junk. We made a weapon. Now we're taking back what's ours." The Syndicate was confused, angry, terrified. They sent a warship to investigate. It never returned. Cole watched the wreckage spin through the void from the cockpit, eyes cold. "Next time," he muttered, "send 2. The coffin with teeth." The smell inside the Blade was always the same: burnt copper, recycled air, and sweat. It was a coffin with teeth, barely held together, screaming through space on engines that had no business functioning. But it worked. And for Cole Maddox, that was enough. After the second strike, when the Syndicate destroyer Trellinox vanished off their sensors, the war finally began. They didn't call it that, of course. Officially, Earth was still part of the Syndicate's Protectorate Alliance. But in the dark between stars, where no diplomats watched and no treaties mattered, we were taking their ships apart piece by piece. Not with fleets, with one ship. Ours. Cole sat in the command chair, hunched forward, chewing on a stick of dried root he claimed helped him focus. His boots were stained with coolant. His eyes hadn't seen sleep in 2 days. "Whisper, report," he said. The AI's voice came through the speaker like static whispering secrets. "Syndicate frigate convoy detected. 3 vessels moving through Corridor Delta. Escort formation pattern suggests fuel transport. Vulnerable points identified. Uploading." Cole nodded slowly. On the cracked screen in front of him, 3 ships floated in a neat line. "Too neat. They've learned," he muttered. Sitting nearby, Juno, his weapons tech and probably the only person who ever dared question him, raised an eyebrow. "That convoy's bait." "I know. And we're going anyway." Cole looked at her. "Of course." She chuckled under her breath and began warming the cannons. The entire crew knew the drill by now. There were no debriefings, no democratic votes. Cole pointed, they moved. Not because he was a dictator, but because he was always right. He had the kind of instinct you couldn't teach, and no one aboard the Blade had any interest in dying under someone who didn't have it. They drifted into the corridor slow and silent, with engine power minimized. The Blade was good at hiding. Its hull was a patchwork quilt of repurposed metals, some of which bent radar waves better than Syndicate stealth coating. It didn't look like a warship, it looked like wreckage. And wreckage passed unnoticed until it struck. "Closing in on convoy," Whisper said. "Power signatures confirm 1 gunship escort. Light shielding, no plasma cores. Hit the gunship's reactor vent quietly," Cole said. A single harpoon round launched from the Blade's underbelly. It was old tech, physical weaponry, not plasma or energy. Nothing flashy, just a titanium spike laced with thermite aimed directly at a vent the size of a manhole. The spike embedded itself and ignited. The gunship didn't explode right away. It twisted, twitched, then split in 2 with a slow, burning groan. The remaining ships began to scatter. "Too late. Light them up," Cole said. Juno triggered the dual ion burst cannons. They weren't meant for precision, they were meant to overwhelm. The second escort didn't even get a transmission out before its cockpit incinerated. The third ship, the fuel transport, tried to run. It got 10 clicks before the Blade's grappling system latched on. Cole opened a channel. "Identify yourself," he said. The image on screen flickered. A Syndicate officer, scaled and silver-eyed, stared back with thinly veiled disdain. "You're the Earth vermin. The pirate. You have no idea what you're doing." Cole tilted his head. "You think this is piracy?" The officer spat in his own language. "You delay the inevitable. You're insects with stolen tools." "We didn't steal anything," Cole said. "You gave it to us." Then he cut the transmission. "Juno, bring their engines offline. Permanently." The transport groaned as its drive system imploded. They weren't going to kill the crew, not this time. Let the message spread. Cole wasn't trying to win a battle. He was trying to start a fire. The underground movement. They returned to Olympus Mons 2 days later, navigating a maze of old asteroid fields that only Whisper could chart. Earth's government still denied the Blade existed publicly. They issued statements of peaceful integration with the Syndicate. Behind closed doors, some of them were funding Cole. Others were praying he failed before the aliens noticed their cowardice. Dock 7 had grown. What used to be a hidden hangar was now a full-blown underground movement. Engineers from across Earth had smuggled themselves up through orbital elevators and back-channel transport. They brought tools, ideas, rage. As the Blade docked, a tall man in a wrinkled suit waited near the lift platform. Government, not the helpful kind. Cole stepped off the ramp, boots echoing, shirt half-buttoned, a burn mark streaking his sleeve. He didn't slow down. "Captain Maddox, the man called. We need to talk. No, you need to leave, Cole replied. You're escalating things, the man warned. There are discussions underway. You're making diplomacy harder. Cole paused, turned, and stared at the man. They turned Nutter into a glass crater. There's nothing left to discuss. That was an unfortunate misfire, the suit muttered. You mean they murdered a city to make a point? Cole stepped forward, inches away. Now I'm making mine. You can tell your committee I don't work for you. I work for the people who can't fight back. He walked past without waiting for a response. That night, in the crew quarters, Juno brought him a bottle of synthetic whiskey. Terrible stuff, but it burned, and that was what mattered. You keep pissing off suits, eventually they'll do something stupid, she said, sitting across from him. They already did, Cole said, sipping. They surrendered. Any leads on the next target? Whisper picked up something weird. A syndicate carrier is making rounds along the edge of our system. Not mining, not patrolling. Just watching. Juno frowned. Scouting us or baiting us? Either way, you're going. Cole gave a tired grin. You knew that before you asked. Just hoping for the day you say no. Not today. The trap. 3 days later, the Blade was back in open space, chasing a ghost. The syndicate carrier was massive, 20 times their size, built like a fortress with wings. But it was slow, designed to intimidate, not to chase. Cole studied it from a safe distance, the Blade hidden in the radioactive belt of a dead moon. Something's wrong, Whisper muttered. Cole leaned in. Explain. The carrier has no escort. Juno looked up from her console. That's insane. Those things don't leave their fleets. It's bait, Cole said. But bait for what? He stared at the screen, mind racing. The syndicate had finally started paying attention, which meant one thing, they weren't trying to stop the Blade anymore. They were trying to trap it. Run a scan on nearby debris fields, he ordered. Anything with a heat signature, magnetic resonance, I want it flagged. Whisper processed. 2 anomalies detected. Both masked. Estimated 8 to 10 cloaked frigates within 10 clicks of the carrier. Cole exhaled. There it is. He didn't smile. He didn't panic. He leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowed. Send a probe, he said. Standard beacon. Let them find it. Juno looked at him like he was mad. You want to trigger them? We're not fighting their trap, Cole said. We're flipping it. The probe launched deliberately loud, a flare in the dark. The syndicate ships broke cloak immediately, like wolves rushing a wounded animal. They didn't know the probe was a bomb. They didn't know Whisper had already sliced their comms. And they didn't know the Blade had laid its own trap. Cole activated the rigged asteroids. 15 explosive charges hidden across the belt. One by one, they erupted, sending razor-sharp debris spiraling into the syndicate ambush. Holes ruptured, engines flared, frigates spun into one another in flaming chaos. The carrier began to retreat, but Cole was already moving. Hit it, he said. The Blade surged forward, plasma torpedoes launching in pairs. The carrier's shields took the first hit. The second tore through the hull. Then Whisper's hacked code took over the carrier's targeting system. It turned on its own ships. By the time the syndicate figured out what was happening, they were alone, bleeding, and the Blade was gone. Back on Olympus Mons, Cole didn't celebrate. There was nothing to cheer. The syndicate would retaliate hard. But now they knew, humanity wasn't rolling over. Cole stood in the command bay, looking out at the stars. We've made our choice, he said softly. Behind him, Juno lit a cigarette. Yeah. And now we find out what it costs. Cole didn't respond. His eyes were locked on the stars, already calculating the next move. They gave us scrap. We gave them hell. The retaliation. The retaliation came at dawn, not Earth's dawn, but a red-glow sunrise on Titan's mining colony. It used to be a thriving trade outpost run by independent Earth contractors. Now it was a crater. The Syndicate didn't just bomb it, they turned the atmosphere itself into a weapon. Thousands died before the evacuation alarms even started. When the reports came in, Cole didn't speak. He stood in front of the flickering hollow feed, fists clenched so tight the bones in his hands popped. "This is their message," Juno said behind him. "They can hit us anywhere." Cole's voice was low, graveled. "Then we hit them everywhere." A week later, Dock 7 was flooded with new faces, survivors, volunteers, deserters from Earth's official defense force who'd finally had enough of diplomatic handshakes and syndicate leashes. Cole walked through the loading bays, watching the chaos as crew after crew unloaded crates of black market weapons, stolen fuel cells, scrap metal, and anger. Everyone wanted a part of the blade, but Cole knew the truth: they weren't ready. Half of them were kids. The other half didn't know a fusion injector from a microwave coil. He met with Lieutenant Saren, a former Earth Navy officer who defected after the Titan attack. He brought not just gear, but intel. "They've begun massing near Proxima," Saren said, dropping a hollow disk onto the table. "For dreadnoughts, 10 cruisers, and something else. Something big." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Define big." Saren looked uncomfortable. "They call it the Harrower. A ship the size of a city. Not meant for war, meant for extinction. It's powered by a neutronium reactor. Unstable, unpredictable, but they've stabilized it. Barely." Cole picked up the disk and slid it into the console. The image of the Harrower came to life, massive, grotesque, spiked like a weaponized cathedral. "They're not here to rule anymore," he said. "They want to end us." "We need to evacuate Earth," Saren said quietly. Cole looked at him. "No. We don't run. We fight." "You can't fight that," Saren snapped. "The blade is a miracle, but it's not a fleet. That thing could level continents." Cole stared at the screen. "Then we make sure it never gets the chance." Preparations for war. Preparations for the next mission began at once. Whisper had already intercepted partial transmissions about the Harrower's fuel route. A Syndicate dread hauler carrying neutronium cells was en route through the Argo Belt, guarded by 3 cruisers. Cole's plan was simple but suicidal: intercept the hauler, destroy it, deny the Harrower its fuel. The trick was doing it without getting torn to pieces. Juno walked into the war room with 2 cups of SynthCAF. "You know what we're walking into, right?" Cole took the cup and nodded. "Yeah. A hornet's nest made of plasma and ego." She gave him a look. "We're not gods, Cole. We're just pissed off ants with a stolen matchstick." He grinned. "Then let's set their hive on fire." The Argo Belt was a scrapyard of ancient battles, old satellites, broken stations, abandoned civilian cruisers, all drifted in a slow death ballet across the stars. Whisper used it as cover, guiding the blade through debris fields so thick the radar barely functioned. The convoy appeared exactly where Saren said it would, 3 cruisers in an inverted triangle formation, with the hauler nestled in the center like a sacred relic. The hauler itself was massive, crawling forward like a bloated insect, its core pulsing with unstable energy. Juno exhaled. "If we hit that thing wrong, it'll make Titan look like a firecracker." Cole studied the structure. "Whisper, identify structural weaknesses." "Processing. Recommend targeting magnetic stabilizers at midship. Disabling those will cause internal drift, forcing emergency shutdown. Safer than core detonation." "Good," Cole said. "We don't need it to blow. We just need it dead in the water." They moved silently. At 5 clicks out, the cruisers began scanning, but Whisper fed them false echoes, phantom ships, heat blooms in empty space. The syndicate scrambled to react, rotating to face the wrong direction. That's when Cole gave the order. Full burn. Hit and vanish. The blade shot forward, breaking from the debris cloud like a ghost with a grudge. Its cannon screamed. The first round hit one cruiser's bridge, instant silence. The second slammed into the hauler's stabilizer, clean and precise. The hauler shuddered violently, its lights dimming. Alarms lit up across the enemy fleet. The remaining cruisers turned, weapons hot. Brace! Juno yelled. A plasma lance skimmed the blade's wing, slicing a long black scar across the hull. The ship shook but held. Whisper responded in kind, overriding the signal frequencies of one cruiser's turret control. The weapons turned inward and fired, gutting their own engine. The third cruiser launched drones, sleek, fast, deadly. EMP burst, Cole ordered. The blast shut down half the drones. The other half kept coming. Juno manually fired rear torpedoes, hitting two. A third slammed into the side hull and exploded, rocking the ship, blinding the cabin. Cole's vision swam, ears ringing, but when the smoke cleared, the hauler was drifting, dark, cold, dead. Mission complete, Whisper whispered. Cole slumped back in his chair, heart pounding. Get us out of here. They limped back to Olympus Mons with 3 stabilizers offline, hull breaches on decks 3 and 5, and a radiation leak in the rear corridor. Half the crew had burns or concussions, but they were alive. And the syndicate's harrower wouldn't be moving anytime soon. For the first time, they'd landed a blow that truly hurt. The symbol of hope. The reaction was immediate. Across Earth's underground networks, Cole Maddox became a name spoken like a prayer. The blade was no longer a myth, it was hope. Colonies on Ganymede, Europa, even rogue Mars stations began rallying under the same sigil, a broken sword, reforged. But not everyone celebrated. In the Council of Earth, a governing body that barely pretended independence, panic set in. Fearful of syndicate retaliation, they branded Cole a rogue, a war criminal. They issued a kill order on his head. They didn't know it yet, but it was too late. Cole had stopped working for Earth the moment Earth stopped working for its people. He gathered his crew. This won't end with one battle, he said, or one ship. The syndicate thinks this was luck. We're going to show them it was strategy. Juno, bruised and bandaged, nodded. And what about Earth's little bounty on your head? Cole smirked. Let them try. We've killed gods before. The crew erupted into laughter, tired, bloody, stubborn laughter. That night, Cole stood alone in the viewing chamber. The stars blinked coldly outside. Somewhere in that sea, the harrower waited, crippled but not dead. And behind it, more ships, more soldiers, more syndicate nightmares. But Cole wasn't afraid. They gave us scrap, he thought. And we built the blade. Now it was time to teach the galaxy just how sharp it could be. The Earth betrayal. They came in the dead of the rotation, 3 sleek Earth patrol cutters posing as traders, requesting emergency docking clearance at Olympus Mons. The codes checked out, the names, the cargo manifest, all clean. Cole Maddox still didn't trust them. He watched from the upper level of Dock 7, arms folded across his chest, eyes narrowed as the ships descended. Juno stood beside him, chewing her lip, her hand resting near the grip of her sidearm. You think they're here for trade? She asked. No, Cole muttered. They're here for me. Juno sighed. We should have expected this. The council wasn't going to sit back forever. They're scared, Cole said. They think if they cut off the head, the rebellion dies. Are they wrong? He looked at her, not angry, not defensive, just tired. No. Too late. The meeting was held in the old ops chamber, a low-lit war room carved into volcanic stone, patched together with repurposed syndicate steel. Cole sat at the end of the long table, flanked by Whisper's terminal on one side and Juno on the other. Across from him, Captain Elias Rohr of Earth Security Command removed his gloves and offered a smile. Cole didn't return it. "Captain Maddox," Rohr began smoothly, "or should I say Commander now?" Cole leaned forward. "Let's skip the diplomacy. You're here for my head. Say it." Rohr's smile didn't fade. "Actually, I'm here with a compromise. The Council recognizes your effectiveness. You've managed to do what our entire fleet failed to, disrupt Syndicate supply lines, their Dreadnought project, unite the colonies under a single banner. And they want to take credit," Cole said flatly. "They want to survive," Rohr corrected. "And they want to offer you a command. Officially, under Earth's flag. Unlimited access to resources, ships, soldiers. But under supervision." Cole let the silence stretch, then stood slowly. He circled the table, approaching Rohr with calm, measured steps. "You broadcast our names across every secure channel, labeled us terrorists, traitors. You tried to assassinate me 3 times. Rohr's jaw tensed. "And now that the people stand with us, you want a leash on my neck. You're a symbol, Maddox, but symbols can be dangerous without structure." Cole stopped in front of him. "I don't want your structure. I don't want your orders. I want the Syndicate to burn. And if you go too far," Rohr said, rising. "If your blade cuts more than it should." Cole didn't blink. "Then I'll sharpen it again." Rohr exhaled. "This is your last chance. Come back into the fold or be marked as a permanent enemy of Earth." Cole turned his back to him. "You already made that choice for me." Juno opened the door. 2 guards escorted Rohr out without resistance. That night, the lights dimmed early, a power fluctuation, a common glitch in Dock 7's overburdened grid. No one thought much of it until the gunfire started. Cole rolled from his cot at the first shot, grabbing the plasma pistol from beneath his bed. Alarms blared. Whisper's voice echoed over the comm, "Infiltration detected. Hostiles inside perimeter. 14 confirmed, armed with cloaking fields and disruptor rounds." Cole kicked open his door. Juno was already sprinting down the hallway with a rifle in hand. "Council's pet dogs," she shouted. They didn't take the hint. Together they moved through smoke and chaos, gunfire echoing down the steel corridors. The assassins wore black armor, Council issue, no insignias. One popped into view at the end of the corridor. Cole fired first. The blast hit center mass, throwing the man backward like a ragdoll. Another came up behind a crate. Juno dropped him with a shot to the visor. They fought like a single organism, 2 halves of a single, relentless will. The Blade's crew had their backs. Saren, bleeding from a shoulder wound, still barked orders and tossed rifles to new recruits. Cole reached the generator room only to find it under siege. 3 Council operatives were planting charges near the fusion cells. If they triggered them, the entire colony would go up. He didn't think. He moved. Dove through smoke, fired 3 times. 1 missed. 2 didn't. A blade came at him from the left, one of the assassins still alive, crouched behind a pipe. Cole blocked it with his forearm, took the pain, and headbutt the attacker into the wall. He turned and yanked the charges from the cell. Silence fell. Smoke drifted. Blood pooled. Cole stood in the middle of it, breathing heavy. They hadn't come to kill him. They'd come to kill all of them. The next day, 30 bodies were buried outside Dock 7, friends, fighters, engineers who never picked up a gun until it was too late. Cole stood beside the graves, staring at the blank metal slabs that marked each one. Juno came up behind him. She didn't speak at first. "Still think we're not gods?" he asked quietly. She sighed. "You're not. But you might be a devil now." He looked at her and didn't deny it. Word spread fast. Earth had turned its back for good. The colonies didn't care. Neither did the rebels. In fact, more came. Ships flew the Blade's colors now, a new fleet forming, pieced together like their flagship had been. Ugly, desperate, strong. The final gambit. Cole sat in the Blade's command chair 2 days later, staring at a star map. The Harrower was on the move again. A new hauler had been dispatched, this time heavily guarded. "Whisper, run models," he said. The AI clicked softly. Engaging the convoy in open space results in 97.3% casualty rate. Current resources insufficient. Recommend strategic ambush. Cole frowned. Where? Outer ring of Salari drift. Gravitational anomalies may interfere with their shield harmonics. Risk severe, navigation becomes erratic, communications unreliable. Any failure in system coordination may result in complete destruction. Cole leaned back. Perfect. Juno groaned. You're going to get us all killed. He smirked. We've been dead since they landed on Earth. We just forgot to lie down. She shook her head, smiling despite herself. You're insane. Insane people don't build blades out of trash. Touché. The Salari Drift was a graveyard of planets, a failed solar system where massive gas giants once tore each other apart. What remained were fields of magnetic storms, drifting planetary cores, and shifting gravitational wells that made traditional ships short-circuit or vanish entirely. Which is exactly why Cole chose it. As the convoy entered the drift, Cole waited in silence. The Blade floated dormant, every system on minimal power. Even the life support had been redirected through emergency reserves. The convoy crept forward cautiously. They knew something was wrong. They just didn't know what. Then the magnetics surged, and Cole struck. EMP bursts fired first, crippling 2 escort ships. Ion cannons followed, hitting hard and fast, disabling stabilizers. But the Syndicate had learned. They responded with a new weapon, gravity mines. One hit the Blade's wing, tearing a third of the plating off. Alarms screamed. Reactor instability. Whisper shouted. Cole didn't flinch. Ignore it. Juno, take the hauler now. Juno launched a precision torpedo, striking the hauler's engine node. The ship went dark. But another mine detonated, ripping a hole in Deck 4. Whisper's systems began to fail. And then, as all hope seemed on the edge, something happened. The fleet, the new rebel ships, they arrived. Earthborn freighters modified for war, Mars haulers with stolen Syndicate guns, even an old Jovian station that had been turned into a mobile battering ram. They swarmed in like wolves, and the Syndicate convoy crumbled. When the dust cleared, the second fuel hauler was destroyed. The Harrower wouldn't move again. Cole stood in the command chamber of the Blade, blood dripping from a gash across his forehead. The stars burned outside. Juno sat beside him, holding a cracked console in place with both hands. They were alive, barely. But the galaxy knew something now. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were winning. And all they'd started with was scrap. The weight of victory. The Harrower hadn't moved in 6 days. That worried Cole more than anything. It sat like a bloated monster just outside the Saturnian shadow line, half shrouded in black space and half lit by slivers of sunlight. Its systems pulsed faintly, slow and deliberate, like a creature waiting to strike. Surveillance probes confirmed the neutronium core hadn't gone live yet, but shielding enhancements had been detected. The Syndicate was reinforcing it, expecting another attack. Cole sat alone in the Blade's briefing chamber, a small cracked tablet in one hand. He wasn't reading, just holding it, thinking. The mission had cost them more than blood and ships. After Salari Drift, 3 of their allied vessels had gone missing. Whisper's diagnostics were compromised. Juno hadn't spoken since the medics pulled shrapnel from her shoulder. And now, more than ever, the fleet, his fleet, was asking the question no one wanted to say out loud: was it worth it? A soft knock broke the silence. Cole didn't answer. The door opened anyway. It was Saren, the former Earth Navy lieutenant. He looked like hell, gray eyes sunken, beard overgrown, uniform scorched at the collar. He carried a data pad in one hand and a bottle of contraband Earth whiskey in the other. "Drink?" Saren offered, lifting the bottle. Cole grunted. "Don't tempt me." Saren sat across from him, dropped the data pad on the table. "We lost the Red Shift and Mercy's Edge." "Confirmed. No survivors." Cole nodded slowly. No emotion, just a mental tally mark in a long row of the dead. "They were kids," Saren added. "The ones on Edge. Fresh out of lunar training. Barely had time to repaint the hull before we sent them in." "Yeah," Cole said softly. "And they died heroes." Saren didn't flinch, but his voice hardened. "We keep calling everyone who dies a hero. One day there won't be anyone left to fight." Cole finally looked at him. "You think I don't know that? I think you're walking a knife's edge, Maddox. And the crew is starting to feel it. They've followed you through hell because you—" Saren stopped mid-sentence as Cole's eyes locked onto his, cold as space itself. "Because I what?" Cole asked quietly. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Outside, the stars burned on, indifferent to the weight of human choices. The blade drifted through the void, scarred but unbroken, carrying the hopes and fears of a species that refused to kneel. And somewhere in the darkness ahead, the harrower waited.